Hi Bentley, do you guys want to move into camera? Because at the moment I can see one person sitting in the corner all by yourselves. Probably want to swing around more to the other side near the door. There's two of you.
No, there is a few now.
Just wave. Hi. Alright. So at least you can hear us, which is which is doing better than last week. I thought I was going to get up and sign. Alright, we're very lucky this afternoon to welcome Jack James to present to us. Jack was born in the eastern states in a mixed race family, affected by the stolen generation, and learned of his Aboriginality later in life. Moving to WA only a few short years ago, he noticed the differences within the state healthcare systems and wanted to learn about his family's cultural background and possible genetic health complications. As an Aboriginal gay male living with HIV for the last 17 years, and now finally HIV plus U, it was important to know any possible health complications. Jack is the co-founder, along with co-founder Auntie Esther Montgomery, of First People's Rainbow Mob WA, a non-profit organisation for Aboriginal LGBTI, a freelance journalist for 100.9 FM Noongar Radio's award-winning program, Rainbow Connection for LGBTI Mob. Jack assists to create the first ever Aboriginal, now let me see if I get this right, LGBTIQAP+. I got it right. Yeah. Float in Pride WA 2018. Together, the theme parade in 40 years using his own vehicle and trailer and small donations from kind people far and wide. Jacob is on the Pride WA subcommittee, assisting with the first WA LGBTI health strategy planning and associated with many other organisations and network meetings. Please welcome him.
Thank you. Love to meet you all. So as you know, my name is Jack. I am an Indigenous from the Koori Wiradjurian tribe over in the east. I moved over here just over 2 years ago. I came over for my family, and when I got here, I noticed a massive change in the health system, differences between, and no offence to you guys, but about 20 years behind or backwards in the way that I was treated. I've had really bad experiences with the sexual health clinic here, which disassociates itself from you guys at Ainsley House, where it makes me question, not just as a LGBTI person, but anyone that goes in there, how they can even walk through those doors. I think that in order to change things or to make a difference, we first have to change the appearance or the perception of other people when people are walking through that door and that place. I had a friend go there with me, and if I hadn't prepped him of what it was like, he said it was the most intimidating and horrifying place that he's ever walked into, and he's lived all over the world. And the people that were sitting there were looking at us, feeling ashamed and embarrassed because were they being judged as LGBTI, or were they straight people just going for a regular checkup? Over in the east, you walk in, you are treated as a person and not as a number. As an Aboriginal person, I find it's hard because I'm already a minority, and now I'm a minority in a minority, and then add my status to that. I'm a minority in a minority in a minority, where I don't feel like I fit in. When I come to a hospital, I was actually a patient on Wednesday in the gastro unit for a colonoscopy, and I thought it was pretty good. It was probably the best experience I've had in any health system in WA so far. I've got a lot of people that I represent, what we call mob wise, and some of the stories that I've heard where they're made to feel different, and their cultural requirements are just dismissed. I've heard of you guys having Aboriginal liaisons, I guess, that haven't been giving their time to assist some of the people. In fact, it was other people that went and assisted them because they were busy on their phones. So that really upset me. I just think that in order to make a difference, we need to be educated. And there is facilities, there are people out there willing to want to give you that information. I do a lot with the homeless on the street, and it scares me that there's a lot of women out there that are either Indigenous or not, in their 40s, that are homeless simply because their husbands have kicked them out, come from DV, the kids are on the street, and they're trying to survive. And we just don't have services here in WA. I know of one lady who was homeless because she was kicked out. Her landlord went to prison, so she could no longer live in the house. And she lived in her car actually up the front here near the Ambulance Bay for about 4 months. And it was good to hear that some of the nurses would go and check on her. She would go regular, and the ambulance people offering her a blanket and so forth when it was cold. So that was good. I think it's going to be a hard change to get back to the point where we need to be here in WA. But being on the health strategy, I hope that we can make those changes. I think that I'm open to assisting any way I can to help educate or put people in touch. That's what we do with First Peoples Rainbow Mob. And yeah, so what else? I had points in my head and I just wrote them down.
What about your experience as an LGBTI person?
Yeah, I will say that WA is a lot more accepting of my HIV status when it comes to potential dating or meeting people or interacting. Over in the east, it's very, very hard. Being an openly positive person, you think that you would be given respect because you're being honest and upfront and not putting people at risk. But I would be belittled. I had my house torched. I fled for my life from Canberra. I had people screenshot my Facebook and so forth, and then send it around on an app called Grindr, saying, "Caution, this guy's dirty." It's just, it's not the best. I went through a court case where I was sacked for being disclosing I was HIV positive. I worked there for the previous employer for 3 years, and then a new owner took over. And I always kept it to myself because I do my own first aid. That was my rule. I wasn't putting anyone at risk, and it was to my discretion, unless it was putting someone at risk that I need to tell them. This one day, I was picking up some broken glass and I cut myself. And the new manager demanded to know why I wouldn't let her do my first aid. So I told her in confidence in the office. Within 3 weeks, I was dismissed because I was unfit. So I took that to court for 4 years, and we ended up, thanks to help or through ACON, getting to a point where it thankfully didn't cost me anything, but I got an official letter of apology, which I demanded, and a discretionary order to not discuss the details which I've just done outside of the court case, or because it got to a point where the tiniest little bit that it mightn't go my way, and I'd be up to millions of dollars, which me and my family didn't have. But that was done in a small country town where my mum had grown up, was actually one of the founders of the gold rush area, her whole family, and I had a suppression order in place. So they were cunning, they put it in the newspaper and said my age, and it was titled, HIV gay positive man sues local Tumbaraba hotel for accusations of discrimination, claiming he was charged for being HIV positive. Everyone in that town knew who I was. Nothing was done about it, and that was in the first, I think it was in the first year. Couldn't do anything about it because I hadn't said my name. If I had said my name, the suppression order protected me. The following year, they then sent a letter to someone out of the country, who then sent it back in, which then covers them for legal proceedings, with a statement in a Sydney paper that I thought that I was little David from Britain, the only gay in the village. So I packed up and I left, and that's when I went to Canberra, tried to start a new life, and then went through what I'd said previously. So it's been a little bit hard, but I'm a positive person inside and out. And when someone tells me to keep my chin up and stay positive, that's what I tell them. Sadly, people didn't like that very much because I said it quite loud and they didn't know how to react. I'm not ashamed of being positive. I actually got it from being raped. But for 5 years, not even my own family knew that. They assumed it was from drug use, it was from being unsafe. And it wasn't to the point where my mother, who was fighting with me, said, I don't know whose biggest disappointment, your sister for being a drug addict and robbing her own service station for the insurance, or you for being gay and getting AIDS. So I then sat there for the next hour and described, step by step, minute by minute, what I actually went through. And now my mum's my best friend. I think it doesn't matter how you become positive. It's like cancer. Doesn't matter how you get it. You don't judge someone for that. I've had a lot of supportive friends. I've learned along the way. It's pretty scary that WA, the further north you go, the more uneducated that our own mob and people are. I've met doctors who didn't know the difference between HIV and HIV plus U. For those that aren't aware, HIV plus U is undetectable and at no risk to anyone or harm. In fact, I could father a child if I wanted to, with no risk to the child or the mother. So to then be treated as if I had been from the start 17 years ago as infectious or as a problem doesn't do my self-esteem very well. What else? We're hoping with our First Nations, First Peoples Rainbow Mob, we were actually First Nations originally, but we thought that was a bit too Americanised, and we wanted to stand out, that we can make a difference. There is no LGBTI Aboriginal organisation over here, and the only one that we had close enough for a Black Rainbow is under question for misappropriated funds. So it was important for us to get away from that and be known as ourselves. At the moment, it's not been released, but Dr. Ashley Lynn is going to be doing an LGBTI study. She got a grant last year, starts this year for 3 years, into Aboriginal statistics for Northern Territory, WA and New South Wales, and we're actually working in a partnership with her to help her get that, because to walk inside every single mob or nation, country, as we call them, and think you're going to get that information without it, you're fucked, please. And with, I think, $915,000 funding that she got for that, she really needed someone. So she's lucky she met me at the health strategy, because her and RTS had previously met. And I'm a bit like I'm the mediator, because I've lived the white life and I know my black culture. So I understand how to translate for each one, because otherwise things people say can be quite offensive. Like, you should be grateful for our assistance. I think it was one from Pride WA, when they donated our float for free. And Amy Esther read that in an email, and she was going to cause hell. And I stepped in, I said, look, I'm sure she doesn't mean it like that. And then I pulled the lady aside and I said, look, you really need to consider how you word things. We did the flash mob, I was part of that. My sister, myself, and my two other white nephews were the Indigenous presence, and there was a comment, there wasn't enough Indigenous presence. And I said, are you saying that I'm too white, or that you didn't have enough dark people in your mob? They quickly jumped around, and now I'm on the subcommittee. I think people's interpretation of Aboriginal or Indigenous is the colour of skin. Or someone says, what percentage are you? And I turn around and say, I'm black. They go, yeah, but what percentage? It doesn't matter about percentage, either black or you're not. And I've heard the term being thrown around a lot. I'm referring to lesbian or gay Aboriginals as sister boy, sister girl and brother boy. And it seems to be a trend at the moment, but it's actually offensive, and it's terms used by the Indigenous culture of straight people to refer to their own family that are LGBTI. So I've seen a few documents circulating that refers to, and they think they're being culturally acceptable, and it's not.
Sorry, can you just repeat that?
Yeah, so sister girl and brother boy, it's actually transgender Aboriginals, and they don't like to be called, unless they identify themselves personally as that, they really don't like to be known as that. But there's been a few documents circulating for publication of understanding. I think my good friend Missy Farquhar was a little bit confused by that, and she was very appreciative when I corrected her quite loudly in the strategy. A bit feisty at times, obviously, but I think I do pretty well considering what I've gone through to compose myself. I did have, so before the colonoscopy I was supposed to have a endorscope at Ainsley House, and I had a pretty bad experience there. And it almost turned me off wanting to go there, so this is the day my friend came with me. It had been booked since August last year. I put it in my phone, as I always do, because my health is first, my family, and then whatever comes after it. And so I put it aside and I was like, okay, this is going to happen. A couple of weeks later I got a letter saying I'm also going to have a colonoscopy. And I thought, that's a bit weird. I'm having 2 procedures, and last time I was at the endoscope I was told not to strain myself or do anything because it could cause permanent damage. And yet a week later I was supposed to have a colonoscopy. So I let it go. Come of the day I went there with my friend at 9:15 for a 9:30 appointment, only to be told it was changed. And that it could only be on a Wednesday from now on, and in the afternoons, which would mean I'd have to travel from Butler on a train, which was fine, but then to be on the train in peak hour traffic on a train where you probably don't get a seat and possibly bleeding, wasn't too worried about my feelings on that, so that was a bit disappointing. And I actually turned around and told the nurse, I won't use the correct language, but I told her to put my I said, oh, don't worry about my bottom, or what's up my bottom, and I'll worry about that next week. And that's probably the most angriest I've been. I think it's hard for people that aren't educated to be educated, and there's people out there that really want to be educated, but they don't know where to go. And I don't know, I think there's a lot of GPs that need a bit of education. And I think when you get to the pronouns, I know even I struggle with that. And I find that they're pretty good about it if they know that you're generally, trying. But it's just good to know how to identify someone or how to approach them. We're all pretty different. There's a lot of letters, like with our float, we had to be politically correct for the people that were in our float. So for those that weren't aware, so LGBTI, QAP+, so obviously lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, intersexual, queer, asexual, pansexual, plus, which referred to everyone else as well as the positive community with that offence. So there is a lot of, and they just keep popping up, acronyms coming out.
Alphabet soup.
Yeah, the alphabet soup, yeah. That's why we referred it to this rainbow mob, because we thought that just fits everyone in. But yeah. I think that's, pretty much.
Do you mind if I ask what we as service providers need to think about, specifically with the LGBTI community who are also from the Aboriginal community?
Yeah.
What advice can you give us around the right thing to do and so we don't put our foot in it?
I think being able to understand the cultural side of it, especially the difference between a gay male and a lesbian in Aboriginals is we are very different to standard gay and lesbians. We do actually have a higher percentage in transgender in our LGBTI. I think it's like 40%. Yeah, so it's quite interesting. But then you've got gentlemen that still keep their identity as a male, but live as a female. So I've got a good friend, I won't please, but his name's Roger, and he's a permanent woman. So, but he won't change his name. He doesn't want to be identified as a woman. He just wants to be a woman. I think it's hard for them when we go into a private hospital or something that's run by a church organisation, especially for the transgender. We had some transgender homeless girls that we couldn't actually get them into services because they breached the church identity. So yeah, and up until probably 2 months ago, I was homeless myself, in between houses because of my sister who lives at the house with my mother. My parents are separated. My dad's actually gay. He just came out, so I'm not the only gay in the village. At 66, it was quite a shock actually. So my sister, my nan, at 86, going through womb cancer. She actually has the Lynch disease in our family. My dad's side has the Baraka tube, but he's not a carrier, thank goodness for me. We also have my sister living there who's got fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, and has had 2 back surgeries, age 41. Separated from a partner because he left her because she was sick. 2 young boys that lived down in the south, and I would drive on a Friday to pick them up from Thornley Primary and all the way back through peak hour traffic back to Butler. And then on the Monday I would return them in time for school. My brother-in-law does not like me, my ex-brother-in-law. Very intimidated by me, and he doesn't like the fact he's intimidated by a gay guy. So he got his son round up this Friday afternoon Thank goodness I wasn't driving my Jeep that I owned at the time because the roof would have been off. So I had a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old in the car who, on the freeway at 100 kilometres an hour in the third right-hand lane, the oldest one decided to try and jump out of the vehicle. So as I grabbed him to hold him in the car, he ended up being a light bruise where I had grabbed him. I had the 6-year-old bashing me from behind and calling me all kinds of names that I didn't even know existed. And as a result, I was asked to either leave the house or be charged for assault on a minor. So being the good brother I am, and for my sister to be able to have the rare access she gets, I would then live at my father's on the weekends. But him and his newfound love interest, it made it quite hard because I'm not interested in revolving doors. And his house definitely is a revolving door. So then I would sleep in my car until on Australia Day someone decided to torch it because it had flags on it.
What flags did you have on?
Indigenous flag, yeah, Aboriginal flag. It was our float, and I had that put on there to make it our float. And up until that point, every time I drive down the freeway, I'd see someone, they'd be like, "Hi!" So it was quite well known, and I actually think that it could have been my brother-in-law because no one else knew where my dad lived, and that I would be there. So I thought it was all a bit of a play. But in being homeless, I got to meet some pretty interesting people. A lot of people think that they were, drug addicts, and a lot of them probably are. But World Park, I love to go down there twice a week, walk through. They now know that I'm Indigenous. They gave me my own little identifier so that I don't get yelled at and mobbed for the mob. So they can be quite defensive people to deal with. Don't use the words "I understand." Definitely don't use the words "I understand" with Aboriginal people. And don't use anything that's culturally a conflict, like speaking about white education, or from that perspective. That's the hardest one. It's almost like having to try and know the non-binary identifiers of people. Being able to just speak to them as a person, and you'll know when you've made a bond with them because they'll refer to you as auntie. If you're around the same age, they'll call you cousin. Don't be offended by that because that is them respecting you. That's pretty much.
I was interested to hear that you said that gay men and lesbian women of Aboriginal background are different to non-Aboriginal background gays and lesbians.
Yeah. And that comes down to, there's never ever been, people have got this, especially in the Aboriginal community, they think that this is a taboo thing. It's actually not. There's never ever been a sit-down conversation about LGBTI Aboriginals with Aboriginal people, and everyone is accepted regardless of your sex or your preference. It's the ones that have been taken, like my nan was, from stolen generations and brought up in religious white families, and that's been instilled in that way. So there's a lot of shame around still. So if you wanted to know or get an idea of the difference between an Aboriginal gay person opposed to a standard gay person, is go back 30 years, and that's where their head's at. And that's where we're trying to really change that. We're starting out WA, but it's probably the biggest section to start with, so tackle the big one first. Other than that, there's shame within families. There is a lot of support too, but it's their fear. A lot of the time they probably won't even tell you they're LGBTI. And it's not because they are ashamed of themselves, they fear being judged even though you won't judge them. I think trying to just, always use the word partner regardless of husband or wife or whatever when you're talking to them, they may open up. Yeah, I think that's about the best I can offer at this stage. I'm happy to find what I can and get that out to you.
Thank you for your candid account. I just wanted to ask, there's a number of mental health services across the Rolford campus, and what would a culturally safe place for the rainbow mob look like as far as how should that look, or is there services in the eastern states?
Can you just repeat that question for the Bentley folks?
Oh. Yeah, so Bentley, there's a question regarding how to identify friendly to LGBTI mob throughout their mental health services. So I guess having even just a small sticker or flag, we can probably get you one of those that we've designed, which is even just having our hands logo sticker on there. I think that might be a great idea, and we can get that organised. Just so that they know that they can feel like they can come there. I know I had a friend come over from the east. She's also a Koori from Wiradjuri, but from up back Burke, because we've got the largest nation over there as Wiradjurians. And she comes from a sexual abuse, child abuse family that's only just come to surface, and she's 33. And she's been getting help, but she just couldn't stay in New South Wales anymore. So I was like, hey, I've got a dad, you two get along, you can stay in his house, come live here. But trying to find somewhere for her, because she's very culturally, she identifies as LGBTI, but she's just a drag queen. She's a straight woman that's a drag, loves to dress up in drag. And trying to find somewhere that she felt comfortable was really hard. So I went on the search and I went through a few others, a few of them, and ended up, I think I sent it to Derby Jurgen. And she even struggled in her own to find someone that she felt comfortable with. So I think as long as there's some sort of identifier like the sticker, they'll feel accepted. I think we've already got for this year's float, we've got 25 people already. We're planning to have a national gathering of LGBTI Aboriginals here in WA. It's going to cost us $215,000. So we're still trying to find that. But we're trying to get people to understand that we're not small, there's a lot of us, and that they're not alone. And I think a lot of people are going to come out of the woodwork. I know, especially down in the south, there's a lot, but they come from the Armidale area, so they've got to be tough and then secretly living as gay people behind the scenes. I was lucky to meet a lovely lady named Josie Ford, and she's beautiful. I met her at the Orange Orca event the other week, and she was sitting there. It was just fake because she was sitting there. She's got a gay brother, so I'm talking to him. He's coming out of being incarcerated, which is why I thought it was good to mention that within our strategy, because it hadn't been considered. And he's an artist, so he's got money happening there. She said that she got 2 gay sons, and she was unfortunate to have the sister who was murdered by the partner through drug abuse and stuff. So it was really good to meet her, and I think she even struggles with knowing how to identify, and that's why she was there, and yet she comes from a family of LGBTI people. So I wouldn't be too embarrassed or worried about trying to find that, because if we can't find it in our own mob, how are you going to find it in yours?
We've got no hope.
Yeah. But we're more than happy to help link you into services, and that's what we're about. So
I think even if you're arranging events, if we have access to that information, we can advertise that within our own services, and I think that's a good indicator to say to our consumers, we want you to access these things, we want you to share.
Yeah, definitely. So we were lucky enough that with the WA Health LGBTI strategy, I've got to write a big section on Aboriginal, and we went through a fight that they weren't going to, the health service weren't going to change the wording or edit any of our section. Because when we use the word peoples, it's when you, same as you're using persons. So if we were then having an Aboriginal section that's meant to be culturally respectful, then we can't have that word changed. So that was really good. We've gone through and identified a lot of that, so that should be available in a year or so. But it's just, yeah, it's good. I can see the changes starting. And I think a lot of people are after this thing called the rainbow tick, which we have the lovely June from Grays on our committee, who she loves to hate me because I asked her, after doing all the work to get the rainbow tick in play, at what section did you include the Aboriginals, because we are also a part of the rainbow, and she didn't like that. So for me, the rainbow tick isn't the be-all, end-all of everything, because it's not culturally respectful.
Does anybody have any questions?
Yep. Jake, I'm Adam from the mental health team.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear about your experience there at our sexual health clinic. What advice have you got for me to refer people to in the future? If not there, if they're not on the ball, what do you think?
Sorry.
Yeah, so there's just Adam from mental health has just asked with regards to referrals for somewhere that's appropriate. I think it's a hard one. I think we've got, I'm trying to think of a name now. I would definitely try and refer them or link them in through Derby Yerrigan or Yorgum. Or if you have an Indigenous mental health worker on your staff, that might be the way to go. Which makes it hard because then you've just got to go and employ someone for a specific job, which is not what I'm saying to do, but they may identify, and then when you get them to open up past that first initial point, then they should be fine, because they just need to feel that acceptance. It's like with an ice addict, you've got that small window frame to grab them when they want the help, because if you don't, they're not going to want it afterwards, or they're going to give up.
Has anybody got any other questions? No?
No.
I'm going to ask if there's any questions from Bentley.
Is there any questions from Bentley?
We can't hear them.
No, the shake there, if that's okay.
Beautiful. All right, thank you, Jack. Everybody, thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
Thank you.